All right. A lot of things that I have read recently is very much how Rhea Ripley is like a modern interpretation of China. You might even notice that I was able to find fairly similar pictures of the two of them. I think some of this also too is due to they both now I guess have a in storyline familial connection. China spent time with Eddie, and Rhea is spending time with Dominic. So I mean, some of these comparisons definitely do make sense. You definitely do have the fact that they've both had interactions with male wrestlers. They're both very large, very dominant women, and there's a lot of similarities between these two. So as always, this ends up being what I think from my recollections of things and from doing a little bit of research here and there. As always, if you disagree, that's where the comment section is for. Uh, so we'll try to go through this. Again, we'll try to keep this kind of kayfabe, kind of not, as best we can do. And Chyna very much is a trailblazer for women's wrestling. She was incredibly popular during the Attitude Era. She had very notable scenarios. One, of course, was the dates with Mark Henry, which if you want to see that, that's currently available on Wrestling Bios, Reliving the War, as well as being a two-time IC champion. Of course, working with Eddie Guerrero, her work in DX, and she did things outside of the world of wrestling that have somewhat precluded her from being put into the Hall of Fame. Rhea Ripley originally started out when we saw her in the Mae Young Classic, looking very much like a updated interpretation of the Charlotte Flair archetype, who then over time has really gelled into her own character and is now easily the centerpiece of the Judgment Day. So we'll get into this. First, strength. I'm going to give this one to Chyna right off the bat. When they first saw her in the gym, she was lifting insane amounts of weight. She also did a lot more work with men. I know Rhea Ripley has done things like slam Luke Gallows as well as slam Kevin Owens. So not taking anything away from her in a strength department, I just think Chyna definitely has an edge in her edge over her in that speed. I'm gonna give this one to Rhea. Rhea, for a woman of her size, is incredibly quick. I mean, she normally doesn't get outpaced when it comes to a speed. Chyna, she didn't have the benefit of longer matches, so we really never got to see her be incredibly fast, but she didn't need to be because she was powerful. Endurance. Again, this is more of a sign of the times. Rhea has definitely been in significantly longer matches. She has been in the deep water in the ring where Chyna, normally more a featured attraction, didn't have the luxury of being in longer matches. Toughness. I'm giving this one to Chyna. Chyna was involved in pseudo hardcore matches. Just don't take that as a slip of the tongue. With male wrestlers. And plus, given the time in which she was coming up, there was a lot more negativity towards women in the locker room. And knowing what she dealt with from a mental and emotional standpoint towards the end of her tenure in the WWE, she definitely had a tremendous amount of toughness, both physical and mental as well. Striking. I know this one's probably going to get some comments to it. Rhea does have an amazing low drop kick. Um, but one of the things that Chyna excelled at, they even called this, is the Chyna forearm. What she didn't have in grace and finesse, she definitely did make up with it with either her doing the handspring back elbow or, like I said, her normal forearm shot. So she had much more of a brawling style, which again was more indicative of what you saw during the Attitude Era. Grappling, again, this one can kind of go either way. Um, Chyna did use suplexes, body slams, power bombs. She used a lot of the standard moves that you saw women do. I'm giving Rhea the nod in this one because we do see her do a lot more different variations of suplexes. And the Riptide is ridiculous. It's an amazing looking move. So I definitely do give her an edge when it comes to the grappling side of things. Submission. Hear me out on this. Hear me out before you hit the dislike button and throwing in all the insane comments. Chyna utilized a bear hug, and her bear hug was ridiculous. But now she also took on smaller wrestlers, so she would ragdoll them, taking nothing away from what Rhea has with her fantastic leg lock, especially when it's a wrestler who's small enough who can post up on her knees when she does a spinning version of it. But if you ever get a chance to go back and watch, Chyna throw someone in a bear hug, her bear hug looked like she didn't realize that, this was a work. I mean, you thought that she was going to be able to bend somebody in half like they're Gumby. High flying. Zero issue with this one. This one's definitely Rhea. I'm going to mention Rhea has a drop kick. She has done some Brett's rope and top rope moves. She has done a few dives. She doesn't really need to, but she has thrown them in there. With Chyna during her time, that, really the top rope moves and planches and all that really weren't as utilized. She did a few of them when she was with Eddie, but those were more incredibly few and far between, more kind of pop the crowd sort of things. Over with the crowd. Hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Chyna, for a while, was the third most popular wrestler in the Attitude Era. That's what I've heard from like Bruce Pritchard's podcast and all those things. Lots of times it was like Rock, Austin, and then Chyna. In lots of markets was like their number 3. Now below that you might have Taker, depending on what Taker was doing at the time. You might also have had Kurt Angle, depending on what he was doing at the time. But Chyna was front and center in a lot of promotional material. She was incredibly over with the crowd. She also was a number 1 contender for the men's championship. Yes, she won a battle royal, and they pivoted to have someone else take her spot. Well, it was probably Triple H. But the crowd undeniably was behind her. Yes, the mommy character and what Rhea is doing right now is amazing work. But given what Chyna was able to do, how far she was able to go during that time when we didn't see a lot of women's wrestlers, I would say that Ripley is incredibly over at not one of the higher points of wrestling, where Chyna was over during the Attitude Era, during a very much a high point of professional wrestling, from a mainstream and from a crowd perspective. Ring psychology. Chyna didn't need it as much. She had the crowd in the palm of her hand. Rhea, had it not been for Judgment Day, I probably would have given ring psychology to Chyna. Rhea's work in Judgment Day has been absolutely amazing. Her work with Dominic Mysterio it's must watch. And the fact that the two of them didn't really talk with each other until they became part of a storyline is absolutely amazing, that they have that level of chemistry. She has been able to figure out exactly how to work things with the camera, how to do things with the looks, with the makeup, with changing the little like faux tattoo thing she has under her eye. I mean, she's really, really come a long way with some of just the small minutia things that you didn't need to do in the Attitude Era. She's incredibly great with that. Mic work. Again, if we're looking like pre-Judgment Day, Rhea didn't get a lot of mic time. Chyna didn't get a lot of mic time. They might also have been more of an attribute of, if you're with someone like Eddie Guerrero, you're not going to out-talk Eddie Guerrero 9 times out of 10. You're just not. So during the time when she was there, I mean, she didn't need to talk. She had Shawn Michaels with her very often. She had Triple H with her very often. She had people who were definitely much more at ease on the stick than she was. Again, don't put a comment related to some of those things. It's just the terminology used in wrestling. And I know it also corresponds to other things that she has done outside of the squared circle. When the Judgment Day comes down, Rhea's on the mic. Rhea is very much front and center. If you would have said to people, Judgment Day is going to happen, they're going to supplant Edge, and it's going to be Finn Balor, Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, okay. And the mouthpiece and the center point is going to be Rhea Ripley, and she's going to help control so much of the narrative through promo work. People probably would have went, no, that's insane. But then you look now and it's like, yeah. I think that you look at, Chyna was the trailblazer. Chyna was a person who helped lay a lot of the groundwork for someone of the body type of like a Rhea Ripley. And, that road was paved, and Rhea's laying down her own tracks on top of it. She's cutting her own path, and she's really undeniably building off of what Chyna was able to do. So the really amazing thing is going to be is what will the industry look like when she's done, and who are the people who are going to say that person is the next Rhea Ripley. As always, if you disagree, that's what the comment section is for. If you like it. If you want to share it, go ahead and share it. If you got this far in the video, thank you for watching.